Hi, and welcome to another exciting pirate news here from good old Massachusetts. With me today, I have the one and only Jamie O'Keefe, and I have Steve with us as well. Gentlemen, what are your positions and what do you do for us?
I'm captain of the Massachusetts Pirate Party and one of the three co-founders.
Nice. And Steve?
So currently I am the first officer. I was a past quartermaster, and I've been a pirate for quite a few years at this point.
Yep. And I am currently the quartermaster as well, and handling some of the helping us keep us going on moral support. So, and speaking of moral
Never get too
support,
much of that.
no, you can't. And I definitely, my heart's out to a local judge, and what she is going through right now, dealing with ICE. Gentlemen, any thoughts on what's going on with the judge who uh, found somebody not in fault of the law?
It's very strange that we're having ICE show up to our courts, personally.
Yes. If you don't know what's going on, there was this indictment of a Judge Joseph, and this is what her offense really was: charged for dismissing charges against a supposedly illegal, undocumented immigrant, and the reason for that was that there wasn't any enough evidence for the crime that that person was accused of, and so for not holding somebody hostage because they didn't do any crimes wrong, for doing their Joseph for Judge Joseph doing her job, they are now indicting her for not holding this person illegally. So at least that's from what I understand of the situation. Steve, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think it's pretty harsh. It's funny. There's last year. So aside from being a member of the Pirate Party, I am also a town meeting member in Arlington, Massachusetts. So I'm part of our town's legislature. Now, if we looking back at, I believe last year, maybe 2 years ago, we had a warrant article that would have, is basically based on the Trust Act. So the idea is that our local police departments would enforce our local laws and not act as surrogate agents for immigrations and customs enforcement. This was passed, we passed this overwhelmingly. Now this year we had we had another immigration related article before our town meeting, and the question here was: should we allow lawful residents who are not citizens? This is green card holders essentially. Should we allow them to vote in local elections? And I mean, a certain amount of this goes back to like no taxation without representation, because I mean we've got folks who are citizens of other countries. They live here, they own homes here, they work in the area, they pay taxes. They're familiar with our local community and its issues. And should we allow them to vote? This brought it passed, but it was much less of a slam dunk than it wasn't a slam. I was expecting more of a slam dunk, and there was more resistance than I would have expected. In some cases, folks were concerned about, well, if we allow folks to, if we allow green card holders to vote, if they were to apply for citizenship, there's a question on the citizenship form. Have you ever voted in a local election? And it seems, I guess, if I recall correctly, it's in a section where there are generally negative things like, have you ever supported Al Qaeda and such. So there was concern about that. Then there was just also some, well, how do we know which residents really deserve, how do we know which of these, green card holders really deserve the right to vote, which it's, come on. I think, if you live in an area, I think I'm a firm believer that people should have a say in decisions that affect them. And if you're living in a local community, And
I mean, you would belong in that community.
yeah,
So-
exactly. There's, you belong in that community. You may own a home in that community. You just haven't, for whatever reason, decided to, to change citizenships. For example, if you were born in another country and becoming a citizen involves giving up your citizenship in that other country. I could see reasons why there might be hesitation to do it. And
I mean, zoning and housing and all of that seems to be something that you have a lot of knowledge on, especially in terms of Arlington. You were on the zoning board, correct?
No, I'm not. I've worked on a couple of committees that have been involved in zoning related issues. So one was a recodification of
That was
Arlington.
my misunderstanding. And I
Okay.
apologize, but
You're close, but not quite there.
well, that could be said about a lot of things. But that being said, I mean, you understand some of these housing and zoning issues. I think one time when we were conversating, well off the camera and off the screen, it was a really good conversation about really the heart of what's going on with the housing and stuff in your area, and the good fight that you're fighting down there. So, what else is going on in Arlington? I heard something about like some of the schools or teachers. There was an issue there.
Oh yeah, so we have a special election coming up on June 11th, and we're not electing anyone to office. This is a Proposition 2.5 inspired election. So there's going to be two questions. The first will involve whether to allow the town to borrow the money and to rebuild our high school essentially, and the second will be a budget override to deal with municipal expenses. In the last 10 years, I think we've had a 40% increase in school enrollment, and that's really hard to deal with under Proposition 2.5 without having some sort of budget override. So, I mean, our high school was built in it was built piecemeal, starting with 1914. We had some in the 30s, some in the 60s, some in the 80s. Back in the mid 70s, there was a push to have it rebuilt because there were, a lot of structural deficiencies then. This was, something our town meeting approved, but our voters rejected at the time. In fact, they not only rejected it once, my understanding is they rejected it twice. And as a result, in the early 80s, we ended up doing some renovations, building on, but never really got to the core structural issues. And irony of ironies, the renovations cost more than the school rebuild would have cost. The renovations cost more than the new school would have, which is, I guess you could say, a way of adding insult to injury. So
Yeah.
there's a pretty active campaign to try to avoid repeating that mistake, and it's just we're hopeful. Right now, we're looking at a high school that will cost on the order of about $290 million, which is kind of in line with other similarly sized buildings, high schools that have been built. But we're also looking at getting around $86 million from the Massachusetts School Building Association. And one of the risks of voting this down is that the MSBA money tends to be a little competitive since they themselves don't have enough of a budget to deal with rising year-over-year construction costs. So if we vote this down, there's a good chance we're not going to get it, and we will wind up trying to renovate a high school that is frankly falling apart. And we will do it completely on our dime, and it will have cost more than what we would have paid to just rebuild the darn thing in the first place. So
right now, Lowell's going through the same issue, and I think we just decided that we're going to just build a brand new one by invoking eminent domain, which is another one of those wonderful moments where the government steps in and just takes away your businesses and your ability to. Whatever, they just go in and take whatever they want, and
They do have to compensate you.
Yeah, fair
Yes.
wager, but then you have to go and rebuild your business elsewhere, and that can take time and all sorts of disruptions. Luckily, where they're doing it, they're not really kicking out any housing.
Hmm.
They're just doing it all to commercial. So, I mean, that's the one good thing. But instead of having the high school in our place in the center of the city, where it's been a long culture of so much money just goes into the heart of the city because the high school's right there, they're going to now kick them out to pretty much almost to a town's border and have them kind of like tucked away in the corner.
Okay.
Um, but I mean, the only good thing is like the sports fields are over there already,
Hmm.
so the high school will be close to the sporting fields, which is good. But the busing costs are going to go way up, and plus the cost of building a whole new school.
Now, just out of curiosity, has Lowell been facing an enrollment growth like
Massive,
massive? Yeah.
massive enrollment growth. I mean, Greater Lowell in itself, with Lowell and all of its surrounding towns, is close to 1 million people.
Hmm.
Um, and so, of course, our vocational schools are some of the bigger ones, believe
Hmm.
it or not. Um, and so that's, I mean, it's a good and a bad thing. With the big city comes a big budget, but with a big city also comes all the problems the big city has. So just maintaining some of the structures has been really expensive.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, Arlington is a town. But it's a town of 40 some odd thousand, which puts us slightly over the median city size in Massachusetts. Um, so yeah, although we're a town, we kind of have a number of city sized issues. We're not Lowell, but you know, um, some of them are not easy.
I think most of the big maintenance thing is Lowell's built on top of a lot of canals. Like a lot of our buildings
Uh,
have a canal going underneath it, so we're building on water, which is kind of interesting, and you never see it. So there's quite a few times that downtown has lost power because a transformer went boom.
mhm.
Um, so,
So are you
but
guys also looking at like sea level rise, increased, you know,
with the locks and dam systems that we have, we've actually maintained it beautifully. The guys that we do temporary dams, and the
mhm.
guys that do it are top notch. They've been doing
Okay.
it forever and know exactly what they're doing. Our water management flow system actually works great, and that really goes to all of our water guys in the city of Lowell. They really are an amazing set of guys and girls. I mean, guys in the plural sense.
Mhm.
Um, but that being said, we could definitely use more pirates more active in Lowell in order to keep on pushing our what we're really fighting for. I know we just won a ton of pirate seats. What was it, Czech? The Czech Republic. Jamie, you know more about what's going on in the European circuit. So what's going on there?
So the European Union wrapped up its European parliamentary elections today. It started Thursday with the United Kingdom and the Netherlands, and then continued on through Friday, Saturday with the Czech Republic, and I think a couple other countries, and wrapped up today with the vast majority of the countries having their elections on a Sunday. Wow, isn't that great having a Sunday election? It's amazing to me that we can't seem to do that, or at least make our election a national holiday. But anyways, so the Czech Republic, the Czech pirates have been doing fabulously well there. They're in the parliament, and they just got 3 pirates elected to the European Parliament, which Czech Republic's a fairly small country. So to get 3 is pretty significant. And then we're looking at Germany. The results aren't out yet, but I believe the threshold is a half a percentage point or so to get one member of the European Parliament. So with any luck, the pirates there will get 1 or more. They currently have 1. With Julia Reda, but she's going to be stepping down, I believe. And hopefully, we'll have 4 or more pirates elected in the European Parliament, which, is small, but is still, potentially a third to a 3 or 4-fold increase in what they had.
I mean, baby steps. So long as we keep that forward progress going, that's what really matters. And so long as we can continue to fight for those individual rights, um, that's why we're all doing this. Um, so, gentlemen, thank you very much for all that input. I know we do have some upcoming pirate events for you guys and gals. So, Jamie, what was coming up next?
So 2 things are coming up. On June 22nd, we've got the Holyoke Pirate Meetup at the Holyoke Public Library, 250 Chestnut Street. We're encouraging all pirates who are in Western Massachusetts to join us. That we have the space from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., which gives us a lot of flexibility if we wanted to do both teaching people how to run, deciding, working on our platform and coming up with different ideas for that, as well as having a crypto party and teaching people how to protect their privacy. We're still ironing out exactly how long it'll be, but that is the window that we have. And then potentially, we haven't locked in the date completely. Hopefully June 29th, we'll have a meeting for activists, pirate officers, and volunteers for charting our direction for the rest of the year. And then I think you were talking about there might be something up in Lowell.
Yeah, I'm working on doing a pirate barbecue and pig roast. So, for all those of you who are up in my neck of the woods, or even if you're not in my neck of the woods, there's possibility towards the end of August for us to be gathering and feasting and having a merry time because celebrate the end of the summer.
Oh yeah.
So, food, definitely food.
Looking forward to it.
Yes.
Gentlemen, thank you for your time, and I hope all of you have a very good night.
And you
Thank
as
you.
well. Thank you for joining us, Steve.
Mhm.
Thank you. Batten down the hatches.
All right. Take care, gentlemen.